Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Sam Blood33 here, and welcome to my newest spin-off show thing, Back to Reality, which is basically a show talking about more of the metagame decks as opposed to Mix-Up, which is more my rogue decks and fun things. Back to Reality is completely competitive, stuff people normally talk about when they talk Pokemon. So the reason I'm making this show is because the reason I made Mix-Up is because I don't like just doing boring, or the reason I used to do boring stuff with Mix-Up. I used to talk about the metagame decks. I thought that was boring because people would just, they would know, or they already know that stuff from other YouTubers. There's plenty of other YouTubers that do that. I could name some. I don't want to name some because I don't want you to go away. Yes, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, I'm making the show because I realized that some of you guys don't watch those other YouTubers to go to forums or, talk with people competitive at your leagues and stuff. So I want to make sure you guys know what the metagame is. So when I talk about my fun decks, what's good and what's bad, and so this is good because it's bad against that Thundurus Deoxys deck. So speaking of, the Thundurus Deoxys deck is our deck for today. The new cards out of Plasma Storm completely make up this entire deck, so I thought you guys, for those of you who don't know this new set, and it's not completely obvious, it is pretty obvious, but it's not you put, made for each other. The cards, of course, you need to think to make this combo, so, I thought I should share this with you guys so you'll know in the future, and you could possibly start being competitive yourself. So with that out of the way, first, the whole gimmick with the show is supposed to be more campy and kind of standard Pokemon show Mix-Up. It's supposed to be more creative, my thing. But with this show, it's supposed to be more generic. That's the whole gimmick. So for those of you who didn't get it, there you go. So now let's start the video off with our Thundurus Deoxys deck analysis.
So with our newest set, Plasma Freeze. Without a doubt, the two best cards in the set are Thundurus EX and Deoxys EX. So, let's take a note from our world-winning deck and slap a bunch of overpowered basics together and make the new best deck in the format. The main card everything else revolves around is Deoxys EX, which gives all your Team Plasma Pokemon 10 plus damage to their attacks with its ability Power Connect. While 10 damage won't help you reach many magic numbers, if you put down 2, 3, or even 4 Deoxys, your damage gets some crazy boosting. Deoxys also has an attack that's very good against V2 EX. It does 30 damage plus 30 for each energy attached to the defending Pokemon, as long as you have a Plasma Energy on Deoxys. Thundurus is your main starter. Its Rated Knuckle attack costs 1 Lightning Energy and does 30 damage while also letting you attach an energy from your discard to one of your bench Plasma Pokemon. This is a great opening attack, and with Deoxys EX, as well as Hypnotoxic Laser and Burbank City Gym, it can do some pretty good damage turn 1. If you can manage to discard some energy, you can accelerate energy to your other attackers. Its second attack is okay. If you can manage to get 4 energy on him, Thundurus Noise does 90 damage, and if he has a Plasma Energy attached, you discard an energy attached to the defending Pokemon. It's good against decks that don't have energy acceleration, or decks like Rayquaza Eels or Blastoise with heavy Black Kyurem that need very specific energy, which they run very low counts of. The next most important Pokemon in this deck is Kyurem from Plasma Freeze. It's not an EX, but it hits much harder than either Deoxys or Thundurus. Frost Spear costs a water and a colorless, and is just like Hammerhead. You may think this is inferior to Hammerhead, but Colress Machine lets you power this attack up in 1 turn. But with Deoxys and Laser, it can reach much higher numbers than Landorus's attack. Its next attack, Blizzard Burn, does 120 damage for 2 water and a colorless, and Kyurem can attack next turn. While 120 hasn't been a good number in the past, with 3 Deoxys, Laser, and Burbank, you can deal 180, enough to one-shot anything. There are other options for techs as well. Plasma Poster Boy himself, Lugia EX, works pretty well in this deck. Lugia can help make some crazy comebacks as long as a few of your opponent's EXs have a bit of damage, usually from Rated Knuckle. If you can manage to fit in some double colorless energy, it's not too hard to power up Lugia in 1 or 2 turns. Scramble Switch also helps with getting it out in 1 turn. Snorlax is another nice tech. Again, Scramble Switch helps you power up Snorlax in 1 turn. With Team Pack you can one-shot pretty much anything, as long as you have a full bench, or 4 bench with 3 of them being Deoxys. Other techs include Absol, which works wonders against the Mirror Match, since they load up their bench with Deoxys, and if you have 2 Deoxys and a Laser Burbank, and they have a full bench, you can one-shot any of their main Pokemon for only 2 energy. And Landers from the Blister Pack, which has type advantage against Darkrai and Thundurus, and can one-shot them if you have the same hand size and you have 4 Deoxys in play, or 3 and a Laser. Now that we've taken a look at the main Pokemon, let's take a look at the list I've been using for this deck. I chose Lugia and Snorlax over Absol and Landorus because of Lugia's crazy comeback potential. It can literally win the game in 2 turns. Snorlax, if you can get all that energy on him, can destroy 3 Pokemon in a row, and if your opponent is able to knock it out, it only gives up 1 prize. Colorless Machine is a must for this deck to help accelerate energy to your Pokemon. Thundurus can't do it alone, you know? The reason I'm not running 4 Colorless Machine is because you almost always draw at least one of your Plasmas before you draw all 4 Colorless Machines, and I almost always end up using a few just to get rid of them. Most of the Pokemon in this deck have a high retreat, so a 3-switch and 2 Float Stone helps greatly. You won't be stuck with the energy-less Deoxys in the active anytime soon. The split for balls is 3 Plasma and 1 Ultra Ball. You might think, why would you use Ultra Ball in an all-Plasma deck? Well, the Ultra Ball can be used to discard energy for Rated Knuckle early in the game, or to thin out useless cards in the late game. Scramble Switch is crucial in this deck. A lot of your big attackers require a lot of energy, so Scramble Switch is almost needed to power up your last attack or two to win the game. For the energy, we have entirely special energy, since Rated Knuckle can get back any type of energy, and we have a wide variety of attackers. We have all Prism and Blend energy instead of any basic energy. The one double colorless energy is for Lugia and Snorlax, and makes them much easier to get out in a timely fashion. This list isn't perfect. For starters, Lugia and Snorlax can get pretty clunky with just 1 DCE, and my supporter count is far too low. I have tried a few other lists, but most of them have been just as clunky. This list has proven to be the best, but I feel I can definitely do better. I haven't tested this list out, but it seems like it would be more consistent. This list has no text, unless you count Scramble Switch as a text, and is just focused on fast knockouts with Thundurus and Kyurem. 14 supporters, 4 Colress Machine, 5 balls, pretty early game focus. Now, let's take a look at the matchups for this deck. A lot of them are pretty close, but with a good list, those could quickly turn into positive matchups. Darkrai has several tricks to beat Thundurus Deoxys. It has Enhanced Hammer to slow you down a ton, and Absol can knock out your EXs in 1 hit. Thankfully, they can't hammer spam you, since Thundurus can recycle your energy, and you can kill their Sableye before you run out of energy. But if they just attack with Darkrai and have enough Enhanced Hammers, you probably won't be able to power up any of your big attacks like Blizzard Burn, so you'll be forced to use weak attacks like Rated Knuckle and Helix Force, and if that happens, you're not going to win. But if you're able to put enough early pressure on and KO Sableye to put them in a tough spot, you can still win. Blastoise seems to be in your favor. 1 Black Kyurem EX can go insane and win in 3 turns, but if you can keep those Squirtles off the field before they become Blastoise, and knocking out Squirtles is pretty easy with this deck, you can super easily sweep them. You also have Kyurem going for you. Kyurem can one-shot a Blastoise, and if they decide to attack Kyurem, that slows them down a turn. And if they put 1 too many energy on their Black Kyurem, Helix Force can knock them out. Kling Klang is probably the toughest matchup I've faced so far. Cobalion EX discards your energy for 1 energy, and Kyurem also happens to be weak to metal. Half the time you can get Kyurem to get rid of enough of their energy to get ahead on prizes, but the Kling Klang deck is essentially playing a 4-prize game, since at max you're playing 3 Kyurem and 1 Snorlax or Absol. Even if you go after their Kling Klang, they can set up another one before Thundurus Deoxys do anything that can't be max potioned away. I haven't tried Absol, but it seems like they could just Righteous Edge your Prism away enough times and you're screwed. Blender's Mewtwo Tornadus is a cakewalk. Everything in their deck is weak to one of your Pokemon, and even without weaknesses, you apply much better early pressure. Worst case scenario, you get into a Mewtwo versus Deoxys war, which is pretty evenly matched, since you need a Prism and a Colress Machine to KO a Mewtwo with 2 energy, and they need a DCE and a Laser to KO your Deoxys with 2 energy. It's probably more in their favor, since they can knock out Deoxys with no energy with enough energy of their own, while you can't. And if they have an Eviolite on their Mewtwo, you actually need a Laser too. But if they're going to win that, it's not too hard to just avoid getting into one. But with that in mind, most people are starting to drift away from this big basics variant, and moving towards ones with Cobalion EX and Enhanced Hammer. Those can be a bigger problem, but a Thundurus EX can overpower a few Cobalions and Hammers. Garbodor with the new Cobalion style of attackers can be more annoying, since now Cobalion is just as powerful as your big hitters with Garbodor out, and can easily get rid of your Kyurem with Righteous Edge, and Floatstone makes Garbodor impossible to stall against. A Tool Scrapper could help you out here. Against Rails, everyone I talk to seems to think Rails has a good matchup against this deck, but almost every game I've played this matchup, on both sides, the Plasma player wins. Kyurem and Thundurus wreak serious havoc on Dynamo, and Kyurem specifically gives up only 1 prize, which is great for you when it's doing as much damage as Night Spear with Deoxys Laser Burbank. And you're only giving up 1 prize if they go after Kyurem, while you whittle away their electrics. And if they try to catch you around Kyurem and knock out Deoxys or something, then Blizzard Burn's effect gets reset, and Kyurem just blows up EXs faster than they do. Even my crazy bench protecting Rails variant loses to Plasma Fox. For those who care, Weavile Execute is another good matchup for you. Everything in their deck is in donking range, unless they run Darkrai, and you'll probably be so far ahead on prizes by the time Vilify starts one-shotting your Pokemon, it won't even matter. Kyurem once again helps so much, only giving out one prize, and knocking out 2 Pokemon once every few turns. Overall, this deck is incredibly strong, and only has a couple bad matchups. The pressure that Braided Knuckle, Frostsphere, and even Blizzard Burn put on early game, combined with all the ways this deck can deal really high damage in the late game, and how consistent this deck is, makes this deck easily tier 1, and most likely best deck in the format. Got a list to test, or test against if you want to grab some last minute championship points battle roads. Just be wary of how expensive this deck is. Deoxys costs $35 each, Thundurus costs $30, and Kyurem costs around $7. Not exactly the best deck for your bank account, especially since there are tins coming out after Worlds with Thundurus, Deoxys, and Lugia.
And there you go, that's our episode for the day, back to reality. Thundurus, Deoxys, definitely start testing against that and whatnot. Definitely a good deck, you should definitely watch out for Battle Roads. And speaking of Battle Roads, they're starting up this next week, tomorrow, the day after, for a few weeks, and I'll be going to a few in my area. So, say hi. Yeah, I'd love to see you, meet my fans. I always like doing that kind of thing, because then it makes me happy that someone actually likes my stuff. Anyway, for those of you who don't know for next week's mix-up episode, we'll be doing the Plasma Evolutions deck analysis thing, talking about everything you can do with that deck. And for my next Back to Reality, I'm deciding, I'm not going to do this Back to Reality thing every other week like I do with Mix Up, because it takes a lot of time to make 2 episodes in a few weeks. And I don't want to talk about the things, I don't want to just, pump these out if you guys already know all this stuff. So if I do make another Back to Reality, it will probably be on Weavile Execute. If not, that will probably be a mix-up of its own, because I have a lot of creative ideas with that deck. I might want to share that a mix-up, but if not, I'll make the back to reality for that. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week for Mix-Up. Later.